Yes, reggae fans, this is Fully Full Word, and you're tuning in to the top ranking podcast sound, best sound in the world, so don't disappoint me.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Top Rankin' Reggae, the show where you can hear the stories behind your favorite songs. My name is Glenn Holdaway, and I'll be your host. We have an amazing episode for you because today we are joined by the founder, primary songwriter, and frontman of one of the greatest reggae bands to ever come out of the United States. Someone who has influenced an entire generation of young musicians, including myself. None other than Harrison Stafford. For nearly 3 decades now, Harrison has been known for his work with Groundation, a band which I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you are already well familiar with. Groundation has 19 albums out on Spotify and tour all across the globe, playing at all the biggest reggae festivals like Rototom Sunsplash in Spain, Cali Roots, República do Reggae in Brazil, and many, many others. All of Harrison's accomplishments with Groundation have certainly cemented his spot in reggae history, but on top of everything he does with his band, you might not know that Harrison is also an accomplished filmmaker. In 2011, he released the documentary Holding On to Jah, which is a deep dive into the origins of the Rasta movement and a love letter to Jamaica. The film features a star-studded cast of reggae legends including Don Carlos, the Abyssinians, the Congos, Pablo Moses, Joseph Hill, and many others who tell the story of Rastafari and its connection to reggae music. This film is a great watch, and I highly recommend it to anyone wanting to learn more about the history of Jamaica, Rastafarian beliefs, and reggae music in general. As if all of that wasn't enough for one man, Harrison is also the founder of several incredible side projects, 3 of which we talk about here on the show today. And if you thought I was done listing all of Harrison's amazing accomplishments, then you thought wrong, because in addition to being a filmmaker and a musician, he's also an educator. For those who are unaware, Harrison is commonly referred to as Professor, a nickname he earned from teaching a college course at Sonoma State University about the history of reggae. As I'm sure you can see from all of the incredible work he has done and continues to do in his career, Harrison is someone who is truly a tireless historian and champion of reggae music, and today's interview will certainly reflect that. I'm so excited to share our conversation with you all, and definitely make sure to stick around to the end for a bonus story as well. So, with all that being said, I think it's time. Without further ado, I bring to you my interview with Harrison Stafford. Everybody, we're here today with the great Harrison Stafford of Groundation. Harrison, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Glenn. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. You've been like a bucket list guest for me since I started this show, so I'm really thrilled to have you on today. I appreciate your time very much.
Right on. Yeah, mutual. Happy to be here.
Yes. First and foremost, I'd like to start things off with a bit of Groundation news. You've got a new album coming up very shortly on June 12th of 2026, A Light, live in Paris. And one thing that I noticed when I was prepping for this is there's actually been quite a lot of classic reggae albums that have been recorded in Paris. You got, of course, Babylon by Bus, by Bob Marley, Live in Paris by Burning Spear, Rastafari, Centennial by Steel Pulse. Alpha Blondie has an amazing live album in Paris, and I believe Ken Booth does as well. So it's pretty great to see Groundation being added to that list of reggae albums being recorded in Paris. And I was wondering, like what about Paris do you think has been such an attraction for so many amazing reggae albums to have been recorded there?
Yeah. Wow, that's a heck of a list.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Something about the French public, the French people themselves. loving music. And I've said this before when people have asked about the connection between reggae and France. Obviously, Paris being the capital, being one of the most famous cities on the world, um, is they've always been there for music. Whether it was jazz music, I would always make this point that Miles Davis was getting beat up in Chicago and he
Yeah.
had to go to Paris to be really respected and revered as this hero. Pink Floyd, some of those first recordings, live albums, live at Pompeii, these things is from French people supporting what they're doing. So from Bob Marley's time, this new music, this revolutionary spirit, it just connected with the French public and they welcomed it. And I think that because of that, Jamaicans, reggae music, these veteran icons that you listed, pay kind of their respects to the people who support them by showing their best public, which is in Paris.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that word revolution. Obviously, France has quite a history of revolutionary thinking
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, very much.
And speaking of this album as well, what are some things that we can expect as a listener when going into this live album?
I love this. That's a great question. It's truly a live album. We
Yeah.
don't play with backing tracks. The 10 musicians who are on stage is who's representing and presenting the compositions and sounds and instruments that you're hearing. Um, we're one of the few groups that doesn't have a click track.
Yeah.
So we're not sitting there on beep, doop, 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 beep, doop.
Yeah.
We're not sitting there on this thing. So the music is, I wrote a song called Original Rhythm from the album
Mhm.
One Rock, and it's the second single of this A Light in Paris. And the original rhythm for thousands of years, it's just humans coming together and we form this groove, right? We have this really unique thing that happens with societies and humanity as we interact. And music is a part of that, and it's not perfect.
Mm.
And that's what Groundation is live. It's improvised. It's, you know, I say this original rhythm and this groove and this feeling to say that some of the deepest musical grooves that we've ever heard, whether it's James Brown or the Meters, Bob Marley and the Wailers, they're not on a click track. And
Yes.
it's moving. There's excitement going to the bridge. There's a drawback when you hit the chorus. There's this and when everybody's moving together, I feel like there's something special going on. So A Light in Paris, this new live album, is that the 10 of us moving and grooving together, and I think it feels organic because of that.
Yes. Oh, that's such a beautiful answer too. It got me thinking because the original rhythm that you're alluding to, of course, is the human heart, the heartbeat that's
Right.
occurring. And the original rhythm is not the click track, right? A heartbeat can ebb and flow with emotions and feelings, and it's pulsing um, and that's something that I've always heard in Groundation's music is that and speaking of improvisation, one thing that I love about improvised music is it perfectly captures that moment, the feeling in that moment more than anything. And
Right.
it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear how this new album sounds. And
Yeah. We're
I
very
know,
proud of it.
yes,
Very
and I
proud.
I know the last couple live albums you released. I believe there was one in 2014 at the Belly Up, and then another
Right.
the next generation. Was that in 2020, I believe?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
Yes.
2020, that album. And The Belly Up was really their production. It wasn't something that we,
Oh, I
Groundation,
see.
did. It was with the venue there that we've been close with for a long time.
Yes. And if correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe each of those different albums featured a different lineup of Groundation. Is that correct? Or some
No, I
different
mean
features?
the 2020 is a lot of the band that's there today with Zach and
Oh, okay,
Isaiah and Roger and Eduardo and those
got it.
musicians.
One of
So
one of the things that I was wondering is, first of all, how did you land with this lineup of Groundation? You've got a lot of international musicians from all different parts of the globe. How
right.
did you end up on this version of Groundation? And how does this iteration of Groundation compare to maybe like a previous live version of Groundation that we would have heard before?
Yeah, well, as far as the previous live versions, it's all different.
Hmm.
Um, Zach and Isaiah are rock solid in their groove
Yes, the
together. The
drum
drum
and
and
bass.
yeah, the
Yes.
drum and bass, exactly. They have a deep, I feel more of a lock. So when we play the Groundation work, whether it's the first album or the most recent album, it's really presented very well and tight as a rhythm section. Um, it it's the live thing is similar to an album where the concept of this collective improvisation is a big part of my vision of music. And that's where Groundation is different than many Jamaican acts or reggae acts, where most acts would a person trumpet soloing, they'll give you 16 bars or whatever it is, and the rhythm is grooving. That's what makes reggae link. But if you have these longer expanded solos and the trumpet player is on these wild lines, you're not going to be. I don't want my piano player to be sitting like this. It's the same thing when I improvise vocals.
Yes.
And that's where a part of this reggae jazz fusion of the concept of groundation with reggae, you break out of the reggae mold and you start comping like a jazz musician.
Hmm.
So it's you might break the shuffle because you want to go wow with whatever the guy just did, with the drums, with everything, and that is been a part of Groundation sound from the first to now. So that's a very much a part of the live experience. Songs on this record that are Babylon Rule Them and these things when it's long trombone solos and all of that, you'll hear pow. You're talking about the most recent pow on the keyboards, very much comping like a jazz player, and it creates energy that when everything is flowing right, the live experience reaches heights that bands that are playing a set every night to a click track, it's hard to get there because you're not as free as we are to experiment and try something. And this most recent Pau, the piano player, as you say, this international thing from Catalonia, he's wicked. He has the reggae. I've met him in Jamaica, first at the 12 Tribes of Israel there in Kingston,
Wow.
and he shocked me then with his ability to keep the reggae and breathe and solo and do all of these things. So he's very special. And Damar and Carrie on the vocals, the horn section, Jeff and Darren and Roger. I mean, I feel if you want to see Groundation, now is the time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I had the chance to see you guys pretty recently in Austin, and before that as well, when you guys came to Southern California last year on your tour, and man, it was a spectacular show. So I'm absolutely thrilled to hear the rest of this album. The first two singles have been incredible so far, and
nice.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
the viewers will feel the same way. And there's a couple things that you said talking about the comping and the musical conversation that occurs when you fuse jazz with reggae. And it's reminding me of some things I read when I was researching you a bit in your background. So in your you come from a musical family and your father was a jazz pianist. And I believe I saw that he toured with Count Basie. Is that correct?
No, there was
Okay.
a show he did in Massachusetts. Yeah,
Oh, like with
yeah.
Count Basie?
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
Wow.
he had a quartet or a trio or something opening the show.
Oh, that's incredible though, man. Being
Yeah.
able to bump into guys like that, and Count Basie is one of the greats. When you were growing up, did you
Yeah.
get a chance to experience any of these jazz artists and seeing these people
Yes.
live?
Yeah, yeah.
Who are some of your influences?
Everybody. Those Count Basie and those things are influences which led to the next generation, the first song Vanity, which has
Yes.
a big band horn section.
Yes.
That's directly from that inspiration. And yeah, so my father had a huge record collection growing up, and as a kid, you couldn't sleep or whatever it was. I knew my father was always out there listening to records, and all of the jazz greats from John Coltrane and Miles Davis. He was a big Dave Brubeck fan. That's where a
Mm.
lot of the polyrhythmic ideas, first started to seed in me as a musician. Um, Yeah, I mean, I saw Ray Charles in concert. I've
Wow.
seen Count, of course. I mean, all of these Miles Davis, all
You
of
saw
these
Miles?
great. Yeah, yeah,
Whoa, wait, when? Like what
yeah.
era of
Concord.
Miles?
This is the 90s.
Oh, the
This is the
90s Miles.
90s. Yeah.
Wait, so Miles, I think he
Wait,
passed away.
this is as he had his back to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It was
Miles
that.
passed so, like in the early 90s, I believe, right? So this was kind of like
Yeah.
towards the end of his
90.
life.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What kind of
Um,
music was he playing at this time?
it was that Marcus Miller, it was that
Yeah.
groove kind of sparse stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool, man.
yeah, I mean, for all of these, I was very young and Elvin Jones and
Oh man.
uh, I mean, if I really sat and thought about it, there would be a lot of hosts because in the Bay Area, you have Kimball's East, you had Yoshi's, you had Black
Yeah.
Cat, you had all these places that would frequent jazz. So it was not uncommon to be seeing these live shows often. And I didn't know this music. I'm just a kid. So it's my father's direct influence.
Wow.
And yeah, I grew to love it. So much so to do jazz in high school and university. And my grandfather played saxophone, harmonica in
Oh
the
wow.
big band swing era. And so it was always, I say this thing sometimes that most people grow up, they want to do music, and the family's like, what are you crazy? You're going to do music? That is not even a real thing.
Yeah.
Um, but not mine. My parents were
Wow.
both supportive. My grandparents, I remember my grandparents, on my father's side would say, the more you can surround yourself with music in your life is the better. And I really heard that and took that, and it's been true. Music is a beautiful thing. I feel so blessed realizing it more today than I did 10, 15 years ago to have this experience. Life is not easy. There's so much stress and so much pain and so much, disappointment in these things. And most people have no outlet. But to be able to have music is like a liberating thing in life. It can really transport you to different places. And yeah, it's a joy.
Absolutely. Man, it's so awesome to hear about all these amazing musicians that you were exposed to at such a young age and having the deep family lineage and also the musical support. I kind of chuckled when you said like, most parents, I'm just imagining how, like most kids would be like, Mom, I want to be not only a jazz musician, but a reggae musician who blends jazz. Most parents would be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah.
that's so beautiful that you
And I
had that
often
support and
say, Glenn,
encouragement.
that it could have not worked. People could have heard this thing and been like, this is strange, as opposed to anything. But then you go kind of full circle back to the French public and the Brazilians and
Yeah.
their love for reggae and their love for music and that was really what lifted Groundation from a California group to being an international group. It
Wow.
wasn't the United States or a big show we played in Colorado or something. It
Yeah.
was it was the international people that responded.
Wow. That's actually something I was going to ask you about. I'm going to come back to that because that's really interesting. One thing I wanted to actually ask you about too. So when you were first learning how to play, were you playing guitar in jazz band at school?
Yeah, I played guitar in jazz
Okay.
band. Yeah, I first played piano, but I was maybe 8,
Yeah.
years old in these things. And obviously, my parents had a big grand piano in the house, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't say obviously, but my father and my mom too would have this beautiful piano in the house, and grew up listening to my father playing.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
when when you played in jazz band, were you doing like big band or combos or both? Like what kind of stuff were you
It was
playing?
big band. It was Amador High School, so it's not some big, huge school. So there wasn't combo groups and all of that. So it was big band, and just standards, Autumn Leaves, Killer Joe, all of the
Yeah.
classic.
I'm just
Um,
picturing you showing up to a jazz session, like playing some standards on guitar. It's so cool to think about. I'm thinking like what tunes would Harrison Stafford call at a jam session if you showed up and wanted to
right,
play a standard? Like what would be some of your go-to standards back in that
right.
time?
In Walk Bud
Nice.
was them, and what other ones? Miss Jones.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, man.
I got a funny memory with that song. I remember one time in college, I showed up to this jam session and the guys didn't really know me there. They were some guys from UCLA and they called that song "Have You Met Miss Jones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know that song." They're like, "All right, well, let's play it up. One, two, one, two, three." And they tried to like test me and like play at like 300 BPM. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, great, nice jazz experience. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's a great
classic.
tune though. But
Yeah,
so speaking of university, so you went to Sonoma State and did you major in jazz studies?
yeah, jazz performance.
Jazz performance. Okay,
Yeah,
nice. So you did like a recital and all that kind of stuff? Like,
right. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Big. There's several things you have to do. But yeah, recital, of course, and big band composition.
Do
You
you
have to
still
kind
have any
of
of those big band tunes that you arranged?
probably somewhere,
Oh man,
probably somewhere. Yeah.
dude, you've got to record that someday or bust them out
Yeah,
again. That
right.
would be
Oh
so cool.
gosh. That would be something. Yeah, it was Sonoma State was the only university I applied to, and it
Oh
was
wow.
because of the jazz program. It was because of Mel Graves, who was the head of the jazz program at that time. Um, he's passed away, but a phenomenal bass player, and
Wow.
uh, I think we maybe most people have these experiences, but not unlike the movie Whiplash.
It's kind of
You know,
intense.
yeah, very can be very intense. I saw kids pack up their instrument, never to be seen again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just laying it on the line, you're there for 4 years, 5 years, and you're gonna get thrown the book of jazz harmony and music, and it's gonna be a lot, too much to handle. But you have to get on it and work hard. And if you're not, then they're going to get called out. But it was nerve-wracking. He was intense. So that was the only place I wanted to go. I wanted to major in music. I wanted to do music. It was jazz or classical. I was studying classical, like fugue writing. At When I was in high school, I would go to the junior college and
Oh, nice.
do classical composition. But jazz, in my mind, I wanted to create I wanted to be a songwriter. I wanted to have a
Yeah.
band and I wanted to do these things. And I knew that jazz would give me all of these wonderful tools that would last a lifetime. And so Sonoma State, and I got into the school, and that's where it began.
Yeah. Oh man, so during this time when you were at Sonoma State, were you also playing other kinds of music or were you just focused on jazz during that time?
I mean, primarily just jazz. I would play some funk or some blues or, whatever it is. A friend's like, oh, there's this thing at this bar. Come play that.
Sure.
You'd play whatever it was. But as far as hours and hours a day, it was jazz and scales and practicing and metronome and, you
Yeah.
know, uh, um, a lot of time, figuring out songs and, you know, uh, ear training work. And that was it.
Yeah.
Those were my days.
Yeah. Developing those fundamentals and getting sharp so you show up to class and don't get a cymbal thrown at you, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
right. Yeah. You want to spell out the B 11 sharp, whatever, you want to be able to spell it out real quick.
Yeah, makes sense. So what I'm wondering too, so okay, so focusing on jazz, getting all that skills sharp, when did reggae kind of enter the equation?
Reggae was always there.
Mm,
Reggae was always there. I actually, now that I think of it, when I first got there, I was writing songs and performing in the dorms and original pieces. It wasn't reggae, it was more reggae jazz. It was
yeah.
more fusion. I don't know, Dave Matthews kind of thing, where it wasn't so one drop with a
Hmm.
clear bang, Um, but reggae was always there because I fell in love with reggae as a kid
Oh,
and
wow.
and got that. I mean, that's my passion. From the time I was in fifth grade, 10 years old, I was
Wow.
presenting in the class about Peter Tosh or about
Wow.
Rastafari and these things. My older brother had listened to reggae, Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and these things. And that's where I first heard it rumbling in the wall between our rooms. And I really connected with it. This is also something that I've talked about in the past is at the same time as we were in a Jewish household, going to temple and synagogue and learning Hebrew, and it was not easy. I didn't like it because all of my friends who I knew, they weren't Jewish, and when they finished public school, they went home and played or whatever. They didn't have to drive an hour and go to learn some language nobody speaks and do all these things. And then all of a sudden, this man is singing about Exodus and Moses and singing
Yeah.
about the children of Israel, and I was like, wow. And I was always a singer. I felt like I could sing.
Yeah.
I could sing these old 50s R&B, you know, kind of like how reggae developed.
Sure. Yeah.
When I was a kid, Stand By Me was a big movie.
Yeah.
That film introduced a whole bunch of 50s music and R&B and I just loved to sing those songs. So I think hearing Bob Marley, it just connected. And I kind of went wild. I bought all the records, all the albums, it was like my thing.
Yeah.
And it became yeah, I loved it. So reggae was always there, and I've always been, like I said, Rastafari in Jamaica. My bar mitzvah theme was Jamaica.
Wow.
So I was in love with this island and this music, and I didn't realize until maybe a year or so into the university, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start an original reggae group. You have the musicianship, you have the connection to the Judaism and Hebrew and ancient Israel, the Bible, but you also have this connection to a revolutionary spirit.
Yes.
And I was that way. I felt that way. I felt like equal rights and justice for all, Um, one love. These things are great principles. And I connected to that. And am I going to sing that kind of music in rock and roll? Am I going to sing it in these places that the fans and the public aren't used to hearing that kind of thing? Sure, Bob Dylan will have one or two protest songs or not, but not an album like the Congo's Congo Ashanti or something. That's
Yeah.
revolutionary stuff, every song. So reggae, I knew reggae well, love it, love Jamaica, and that was it.
Yeah. Beautiful. So growing up, I mean, nowadays access to reggae music is so easy, right? With streaming and going on YouTube, you can find just about any reggae song. But back in those times, like, how did you even have access to reggae music? And like, did you get to see reggae live when you were growing up?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is
Whoa.
this is the Bay Area. I don't know, Glenn, where are you from?
I'm from Long Beach area,
Long
basically. Yeah,
Beach.
Long Beach, California.
But this is Oakland, the Bay Area. So this is like Amoeba and Rasputin Records.
Yeah.
For a long while there was Amoeba, Rasputin, and Tower Records in like a block of each other. And these things have huge libraries. There was a man, Randy, who was the reggae buyer at Amoeba. And so once he saw me and my interests, he kind of, you have to get Israel Vibration. You have to get,
Oh, wow.
don't forget this, don't forget Ijaman's this, you don't, and so I would get all these records
Yeah.
and this is where they would have the Bob Marley Day celebrations in the Bay Area. Bunny Wailer used to have his Peter Tosh birthday celebration in the Bay Area.
Wow.
This is the same place that Bob Marley was kicked off his tour and he came to San Francisco. This is 1973 after Sly and the Family Stone tour was canceled. And from that time, the Bay Area in the early 70s has been a big foundation for Jamaicans and reggae music. So
Wow.
here in the Bay, you have access to all those things. So I had every Bob Marley album, Israel Vibration album. When Israel Vibration was putting out albums, I was there to get them. Burning Spear, and
Dang.
waiting for those. We have. I remember listening to KPFA Spliff Skanking when he announced Peter Tosh was shot and killed.
Whoa.
So, and I had that recording somewhere. I used to record his show.
Wow.
So, it was a wonderful place for jazz and for reggae, for me personally,
Wow.
growing up. And I also think the people in the area are very supportive of new ideas. So all of this was like fertile ground to do what, to become who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it was all, yeah, wonderful experiences. I saw, speaking of other groups, like my first shows were like Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd,
Oh man.
and I was a kid, and
Yeah.
so it was, yeah, it was phenomenal.
Oh
Yep.
man. Thank you for all this history. I wasn't aware of the lineage of and connection that the Bay Area has with reggae music. And
Deep, yeah, deep
yeah,
connection.
I see this perfect storm that is like all these musical influences. You're talking about like Pink Floyd meets Count Basie meets
Yeah,
Peter Tosh with the message and the jamming and the improv and the harmony and the time signatures. I hear all of that in your music, and
yeah,
it's so interesting. Like it's your life story is in your sound and in your songs, and the influences are very clear. It's really cool to hear you speak about this and to finally put those dots
yeah,
together for me personally.
yeah. It's nice to even talk about them, because, yeah, it is the fullness of my experience that creates, this. We're just demoing new ideas for the next album, and I sent
Yeah.
off these ideas to the musicians, and they say, "Boy, Harrison, you really have a fingerprint, you know? You have a thing, you know." And again, it's a miracle that it's been accepted, and I'm able to do that, because I mean, it's not what's happening in music today.
Yeah.
We recorded this candle burning over here.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
recorded this on analog tape, as we did all the other albums, and nobody's recording on analog tape.
Yeah.
It's like, it's different stuff, but that's what makes Groundation, and thankfully we have our audience. So it's a joy, man. Really is, Glenn.
Absolutely. So now talking about your bands and projects. So I know that you said went to Sonoma State, started a band. I believe I read your first band was called Human. Is that true?
Human, but that was in high
Yeah.
school.
Oh, in high school.
Yeah,
Wow.
our parents would have to drive us to the shows.
Very classic.
Yeah, there was places called the Berkeley Square and the One Step Beyond and the Omni. There was all these venues,
Yeah.
in those days, and we would go and play. And as kids, it was a wild experience.
Yeah.
Grew up in the middle of it all and saw things and experienced things. Wow. Okay, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
it was a wonderful time, to be a kid,
Do you
because
have
all those
any
places aren't here anymore.
Yeah. Do you have any recordings of that band?
I think there are. Yeah, we definitely
Yeah?
went in studio. Yeah. And it was like heavy metal, but
Really?
my lyrics were still patois, and
Oh,
it was
wow.
still, yeah, maybe like Bad Brains,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so
Are they out in the world? Like, can I find this somewhere?
you probably could.
Oh,
I
whoa.
I have no idea though. I have no
Okay.
idea. It was a small. We had some cassette tapes back in our, 16 years old or
Oh, that's
something.
incredible, man. I would love to hear those. That's
And
so
and
cool.
so from this time, I always wanted to be in a band. I love
Yeah.
playing with people, and I'm not, I love being with people, and I love
Yes.
hearing. I love some of my favorite moments playing live and whatnot is just playing the rhythm guitar behind somebody's solo, and watching them do it. I love it.
Yes. Was Groundation the next band you formed after Human?
Yeah, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, from that point until forming that group and into it and forming Groundation, it was jazz, jazz, jazz. Jazz bands, jazz high school bands, jazz. Really, really digging into jazz. I think I realized that university, like I said, it's classical or jazz. There's not going to be
Yeah.
a rock and roll major or
Yeah.
a reggae major. So
Yeah.
if you want to study and get a degree in music performance, those are the two ways to go.
Yes, that makes sense. So when with Groundation, there's actually speaking of recordings, I know we just mentioned Human. There's another recording I've been looking for and haven't been able to find. It's the first Groundation recording that I could find, at least Tribute to the Roots. Was that your first recording with Groundation?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
first ever in the studio.
Man.
And that was that was me kind of kicking everybody's butt, because everybody's jazz musicians. They're not reggae musicians,
Oh,
so
wow.
they haven't played that genre.
Yeah.
So you needed to listen to His Vibration and Culture and Gladiators and Pablo Moses and Burning Spear and Peter
Yes.
Tosh. Here's all these albums. It was like every week I would give different albums to the members, and then I don't know, very quickly said, okay, we're going to record an album, these 10
Wow.
songs. So get them and learn them and be ready for those. And so we went in studio. I had one of my best friends there in university, Chris Dilbeck. He was in the recording engineering program. So he had to do projects. And so he would do
Oh,
my projects.
hey.
So it was a perfect relationship. He said,
Yeah.
I need to record an album for my final and blah, blah, blah. I have an album. It's great.
Wow. So the
So
first Groundation was like a college final for someone.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It
That's
worked out.
crazy.
It worked out. He got credit. We got our first album, and even through Young Tree was also done a little bit that way.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, right
Wow.
there at the university. There was
Oh,
a
wow.
whole studio program there. Who was Warren Dennis Kahn, a great professor there, was teaching that program, and like I said, Chris Dilbeck and Corey Stook was in that. So they became the engineers recording the music, and
Wow.
I had the music.
So, wow. Yeah, that's the story of the first Groundation recordings. Once these albums came out, I know you said eventually, like in Brazil and over Europe, they really caught
Right, but
fire. What,
not at
not
that time.
that, yeah, what was it like at
No,
first?
you're working from ground up. I mean, as a white reggae band is like, good luck trying to open up for, the next show at the Ashkenaz or whatever it is.
Wow.
You're not gonna go anywhere. So you do the demo, you do the tribute to the roots, dub at the roots. You do Young Tree, do each one teach one, Hebron Gate. It was Hebron Gate that I put it all in.
Yeah.
I got investors. I borrowed money.
Wow.
I did everything I could to make this thing. This is the third studio album of originals, and I had this concept, this idea with the Congos and Don Carlos. Cedric Myton
Of course.
singing the lead, and Don, and I'm gonna get Jim Fox. I'm gonna fly him to California. We're gonna record in the studio all analog. This is the first analog recording
Oh,
because
wow.
those older ones are on the digital tape, the ADAT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the first time on the analog tape, and I had met Jim Fox in Jamaica,
Wow.
uh, just before Each One Teach One, or just after Each One Teach One. So yeah, it was a struggle. It was a work. It was years and years to push through.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned Hebron Gate, and that was my introduction to you guys as well. I'm, of course, a trumpet player, so the opening track of that album is a beautiful trumpet solo. From the second I heard that, I was hooked on Groundation. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to hear more about the story of that album. It's so interesting that you're like, that's the album that you went all in on, and it shows it's a
Yeah.
lot of passion in that project.
Well, the previous album, Each One Teach One, I wasn't. It took a lot. I
Mm.
spent a lot of money. I think I mixed the album 4 times.
Wow.
Just not happy with the sound of it.
Yeah.
And then it was after that I met Jim Fox there. He was working on an Is Vibration album at Lego Studios, Orange Street in downtown Kingston. And I see this old white man there behind the console with his long ponytail and glasses. Say, hey, how you doing? I say, oh, this is my name's Harrison. I was doing a documentary interviewing, working on Holding On to Ja.
Yes. Yes.
And he says, oh, I'm Jim Fox. And immediately I was shocked because I grew up on Is Vibration and Culture and Don Carlos, all these
Yeah.
records that went through his hands,
Yeah.
from Just a Passing Glance and these albums in the 80s all the way through the 90s. So I was like, you're Jim Fox?
Yeah.
And I said, what's the secret? And he said, there's no secret. 24-inch, 2-inch, 24 track tape. That's it. Okay, the next album I'm gonna do this. So I got his contact. He remastered Young Tree and Each One Teach One, and I flew him to California to record Hebron Gate. And
Wow.
yeah, it was not an easy session even. Yeah, I was actually worried about the Hebron Gate sessions because it
Wow.
was very expensive. And again, it's borrowing and money and figuring it all out. And the first 4 days or so in studios, we didn't get anything.
Whoa.
Not one song.
Oh
It was
man.
like everybody was a little scared.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what's happening here, guys? We need to we need to play free and we need to do what we do. And
Yeah.
I know that it's tape, it's Jim Fox, it's the studio, it's a red light, but let's just play like it's just us in the drum room we used to rehearse at Sonoma State. And so then we started to get these takes
Mm.
where there's more creativity and call and response and this comping these type of things. And yeah, got the record. And yeah, it was a great project. And like I said, I put it all into it. I did like advertising in High Times magazine, and I tried our best again with Chris Stillbeck. He and I had partnered with Young Tree Records
Yeah.
with the record label. And so we released Young Tree, Each One Teach One, Hebron Gate, and he and I together worked all of the business things and pushed this record. And towards the end, getting ready to look at We Free again, it was beginning to see some response internationally from
Yeah.
Germany, from a publisher in Germany, from Brazil, from France. Okay, maybe you can come to France for a tour, maybe. And then that was 2004. So that's where it came. And it's been it's been growing and moving from that till now. And Jim Fox has been a part of all the recordings from then until now.
Yes. And man, yeah, it's so cool to hear this story, and it makes sense how the Groundation albums have that classic sound. You've got the right guy with the right gear to give it that perfect sound, and it's all recorded live. And it's crazy to hear about the first 4 days just getting nothing. That must have been so stressful.
Yes, it was very stressful. We Free Again was even more stressful. Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. I was putting it on my shoulders, but
Yeah.
carried it through.
How was it working with Don Carlos and Cedric on that album? Was that your first time collaborating with the legends like that?
Well, we had done Ross Michael
Oh
and
yes.
then Joe Higgs' daughter Marcia on Each
Wow.
One Teach One. And also at this time, people weren't really doing features. That was not People didn't really have that on their albums. So having Ross Michael through teaching the history of reggae music class at Sonoma State University,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
you probably met Alan Rocky Bailey,
Oh
the
yes, yeah,
MC
yes, I have.
Rocky. He is Ross Michael's younger brother.
Whoa.
And I had Rocky speak at my one of my reggae history of reggae university courses, lecturing to the students about his life and his experience. He's the
Wow.
younger brother, as I said, of Ross Michael. Put me in contact, and Ross Michael, of course, is a phenomenal Nyabingi. They call him the Nyabingi specialist. I think that's a
Yes.
Bob Marley quote.
Wow.
And so, yeah, but vocally and to that degree, Hebron Gate was the first time. And it was a concept. Each album is a concept from Young Tree. Young Tree's concept is the beginning of that seed. It's the individual. It's about you. Each One Teach One is about history. You're not alone. There's a huge thing that comes before and after. And then Hebron Gate comes where the youth now becomes knowledgeable and recognizes that there's a conflict. There's this dragon war that I sing about
Yes.
that's going to come to pass. And this is kind of what we're witnessing today. Um, and then at the end of the album, I wanted elders to come and say, hey, listen, youth, you have the energy, your eyes are beginning to open, but this has been here for generations. So take it easy, take it one step, and then that's why the last two songs now feature Cedric and Don Carlos as Freedom Taking Over and Undivided.
Wow.
And it was a perfect way to end the record and the story. And Giovanni, also my childhood friend who did all of the albums from Young Turi, all of the visuals.
Wow.
He did this beautiful gate, and yeah, man, this is it. And somehow it worked.
So beautiful. I love hearing the stories and the concepts behind each album. And I hadn't
Yeah.
put that together, like bringing Don and Cedric as the elders at the end to give that advice and
Yeah.
tie it all together. I'd love to hear that. And speaking of those guys, when you had a chance to first meet them, what was your interaction with them like?
Um, wow. What can I say? Don Carlos, I had seen with Black Uhuru in the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
I did not meet him. This was the first time meeting him. And it was
Wow.
Jim Fox who said, "You know, I think Don Carlos is living in Oakland with his family
Yeah.
right now." I said, "What?" See, I think he's right down the road. I think he's right next to you.
Whoa.
Okay, so he gave me the link to Don, and Don was like, "All right, let me see." And I had demos, just recordings of us jamming these ideas. And so I came with those and presented the idea to Don, and this whole thing about the Dragon War and the youth and what it means for the elders. And you come to these songs and, Undivided, where you say this part, Cedric, and then you, Cedric, me, Cedric,
Yeah.
we have this thing, and okay, this is great. And so Don was in, and we recorded at Prairie Sun, the same studio we always use. And Don Carlos is such a wonderful. I'm sure you've worked with him, Glenn,
Yes.
as a great trumpet player you are. Don is the greatest soul,
Yes.
Life is not easy, and we're all human. We've all had disappointments meeting our stars. So many people can sing about love and all these great things, but to be disciplined enough to live your life consistently like that is very difficult. And we can't fault anybody because we all fall short of the mark. I'm saying all that to say that Don Carlos is by far the one who keeps that standard high, just forever grateful, forever thankful. It's hard to find Don without a big smile on his face. And he's gone through so much. It's so interesting to see where elders and their heavens in their thinking, in their minds, where they end up, because they have similar experiences coming from the ghetto, coming from Western Kingston and poverty, and but some go this way, some go that way, some end up here, some end up there. Don ended up in a place of peace
Yes.
and balance. So he's great to work with. We worked with him on We Free Again. I want to work with him more.
Yeah.
I talked to Don before. I said, "Don, when are you going to put it out?" "No, Harrison, I'm not like you. I put an album out once every 10 years. I said, "Don, you have that voice you have, and you're going to record it once every 10
Oh
years?
man.
That's crazy, man." So I would even write songs for Don to be
Yeah.
like, "Please, can you record your voice for the world?"
Yes.
Such an awesome voice, and truly a pioneer of that Waterhouse sound.
Absolutely.
So many of them have that wicked signature, but Don's kind of the godfather of that.
The
Uh,
Don.
and Cedric is just a wild. Cedric is just I don't know because he hasn't come to the States for 20 years or so. So I'm not sure if you've ever
I got
come
to meet him in
across.
Mexico one time.
Okay, see, you had to go outside of the
Yep.
U.S. to find Cedric.
Yeah.
So Cedric, lead singer of the Congos, is by far the most electric personality
Yes.
of anybody of that generation. If you were to put those elders in a room together, you'd think Cedric was a 20-year-old. He's
Yeah.
really unbelievable. And I met Cedric when I was a teenager.
Oh wow.
I met Cedric. I had been a hardcore Congos fan, and Congos used to tour in the 90s. At least Cedric, in some way, would be bringing that music around. So I met Cedric super early for shows in San Francisco. There was in Santa Cruz there was a place called Palookaville, and in San Francisco the Maritime Hall.
Wow.
These places would have these shows come through, and I would get there early. Only I was like a fanatic. And I met Cedric's wife Yvonne. And
Whoa.
okay, and I even would stay. I stayed with him in Old Harbor in Jamaica for weeks and
Whoa.
weeks and weeks. So
Whoa.
I knew Cedric very well. And I recorded Cedric in Jamaica
Wow.
because for circumstances he can't come back to the
Sure.
States.
Sure.
He's in Jamaica, so if you want to record him, you got to go there. So
Wow.
we finished the record, the acoustic guitar of Freedom and these things in Jamaica at that same Lego Studios downtown.
Wow.
And yeah, it really worked out perfect because you have my voice, which is very different, and then you have Don's and Cedric that couldn't be more different,
Yes.
you know. Um, so yeah, that again, it was something that it was I didn't realize how risky it was until later, because people don't know. I love this music. I had all of these records and these things. I didn't realize that nobody else knew these people. You know, I
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
these guys were like huge. And,
Yeah.
and, and I hear from people even today who's like, oh man, Hebron Gate was my intro to reggae music. And
Yeah.
I learned about Don Carlos and Congos from you. So
Yeah.
it's like, wow, that's really great. That's that whole in one sense, for the elder and elder fans, Groundation has this link to these
Yes.
legends. And
Yes.
then for the younger people, oh, Groundation, who are these older? Oh, okay, I'm getting into this. So it's a two-way street
Yes.
with these great ones. And yeah, I really give thanks, Glenn. All the inspiration and all this, the writing and composition, everything came through when it needed to.
Yeah, seriously, man. I did not know that Cedric had been such a mentor to you at such a young age. I mean, it sounds like you've been going to Jamaica for, sounds like
Yes.
since you were a kid and even
Yes.
staying with Cedric. Like, I mean, you got to tell
Yes.
me more about that, man. What was that
Yeah.
like?
Oh, it was eye-opening experiences from the
Yeah.
fishermen there. Every morning we go to the sea, we go run
Oh,
on the
wow.
beach. Often, it could be depending on the time of year, the sea could be rough. You know, this is like Old Harbor, as I was saying, which is where he's from originally. And Congos has a whole camp there with family and his brothers, and it's a big
Wow.
it's a big Mighton area. Um, and some of the people in the area thought I was his son.
Wow.
And we move like that. He even calls me son. So
Wow.
it's and again, he was a singer that, man, he pushed so much. I remember hearing for the first time when he said, I can see invasion, Christianity, who fight against the saints of his majesty. And the way he would sing it, he was on the top of his register, is like, that's what I love in listening to how I sing. It's an acquired taste, but I love when a singer is on the edge,
Yeah.
when it's like, ooh, he's really reaching. I love that part of it. And Cedric could really, really nail that. But Jamaica for me actually began when my parents met a young kid, a couple years older than me in Massachusetts, who was from St. Anne's Bay.
Wow.
And then we became friendly and became pen pals until he
Oh,
invited
cool.
me. Oh, come this December when you're off school, come to my family's house up Windsor Heights, Charleston, up St. Anne's Bay, stay here. And that became, of course, like I said, my bar mitzvah theme was Jamaica. So it was let's give him the experience to see this. And
Wow.
from that to Omar Miller, to the families, to the people in that St. Anne's Bay, Lime Hall, Steertown area, it became like a second home. I
Wow.
would I would go back and forth all the time, and it's like we're me and them are like real family.
Yeah. Oh man, that's that's so cool, man. What an experience. And I'm
Yeah,
still think it's incredible at staying with Cedric and running on the beach with him. Sometimes it's when I think about the interactions I've had with guys like that, sometimes even more so than the musical interactions, it's just sometimes like the more mundane, like everyday interactions. Like maybe we'll just be waiting in line somewhere and just like stuff like that. I'm just like,
right.
whoa, I'm like
Yeah,
sitting here with Don Carlos at, I don't know, like some restaurant, just ordering a
yeah,
smoothie or whatever.
yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah, they're people too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man. Getting to see all the different sides of them and their humanity, not just their art.
right.
And And something also that you said that stuck out to me about Cedric and him constantly pushing his voice and going to the brink. It almost reminds me of like someone like John Coltrane pushing music to the limits, pushing himself to his limits and always trying to dig deeper. And and even like listening through, I was doing a bunch of listening to old Groundation, new Groundation, and hearing how your voice has developed and
Yeah.
all these new things. I hear that in you, like constantly pushing yourself, trying to explore new things, new rhythms, new sounds you can make, all these kind of things. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
what keeps the music so interesting and fresh every time. It's you're
Right.
constantly pushing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My one of my Jamaican brethren say, "Yo, Harrison is like most people. They make their musical career by making a box that they stay in.
Yeah.
But my music career is like constantly outside of the box. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it's amazing. Like, and yeah, that I don't want to record anything I've recorded before.
Yeah.
Um, so that's, and I want to be surprised. I want to be, again, it's not a recipe in today's world for success, for likes and streams and this stuff. I mean,
Sure.
it doesn't take, and that's why I started Young Tree Records.
Mm.
When I was even beginning with songs like Dream and those things, nobody needs to come to me and say a through composed song with jazz changes 7 minutes long is doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I knew that already. I didn't need, make this song shorter, get a hook, do the thing. Like, oh, but that's not it. And again, it's amazing that it worked. So yeah, yeah, it's been great. I just love music so much and I love learning from it and I love creating it. So and that's why it's a bit of a with what's happening today, it's a bit
Mm.
of I don't want to say a shame because everything develops and moves and changes, but it's less organic and less fresh
Sure, yeah. Mm.
than how it was. Yeah,
Yeah, and I totally see what you mean. Even thinking about some of my experiences working with veteran reggae musicians, I mean, definitely no metronome in the studio. Every time we play, its songs are always different. Even if it's a song that we've played 100 times, like could be real rock or something like a rhythm, classic rhythm, they're always going to find some new way to play it or new spin on it, something to keep it fresh.
yeah,
And I think that, and something you said earlier about having that bridge with Groundation, like you're bringing new elements to the music, but keeping that spirit of the elders, that improv, that organic nature, not, you know, trying to
right.
get all dialed in with the click and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what makes Groundation so important. It's that bridge and pushing the music in a new direction and showing what, yeah, what not just staying in the box, a whole new box could be.
Yeah, yeah. To me, that's what makes it special, and that's what's really rewarding. Um, it would be great to sell a bunch of records and be very popular in those things, but to be able to inspire other musicians to try new things, to, oh, if he wrote a song in seven, then this song that I thought was great in nine might be great, might be, you know,
Yeah.
Hebron Gate and those things show you that it can. I mean, if it was a producer or something to listen to that would be like,
Yeah.
no, none of this would work.
Yeah.
But it does work, it does work if it's done from the heart, if it's done
Yes.
from a very organic and natural space. That's one thing too with the music when I'm songwriting. I'm not forcing these things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting down and saying, picture on the wall. Okay, I want to write a song that has a bar of three and a bar of four, and that wouldn't. It just comes from naturally playing and singing a melody. And now you have your phone and you can record and you
Mm-hmm.
listen back that you go, oh, that's how Weeping Pirates was written with, oh, there's these bars of three that happen in this section, and then just because it's an organic thing.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I saw a video you did recently where you're explaining how Hebron is in three, one, two, three, one, two,
Right.
three, chant, chant, right? And I've listened to that song for years, since I was in high school, and I never ever even realized that because it just feels so natural. So when I'm listening to Groundation, a lot of times I'm not even noticing that it's in a weird time signature just because
Exactly.
it feels organic
Exactly.
and natural. And I think,
Right.
like you said, like that's really what it's all about. You're not even thinking in a time signature, like, oh, let me just write some weird thing or whatever. Like
Right.
these are just melodies making it feel good.
Yep.
and it's a beautiful thing. And
Nice, Glenn.
so
Thank you.
with Hebron, now this album comes out, it's starting to catch fire internationally. What were some of those early experiences like touring and going to these new places? Do you remember like the first show you had where it was like, whoa, like the tides are kind of changing. We're starting to see that we're in the middle of something big right now.
Yeah. Yeah, the first show in France in 2004, out in the Basque country there, next to an old venue, next to a graveyard.
Whoa.
Place probably held 700 people or so, and it was sold out.
Wow.
And I remember taking it, and it was like kind of a low ceiling
Yeah.
venue. And I remember the place was so hot. People were there. I mean, we didn't have a show like this in the States. Maybe we did when we did the tribute to Bob Marley's and things
Hmm.
at the Catalyst and those shows.
Yeah.
But this was like the minute we started, that song was amazing. The people were, and it was like, wow, this is, and like I said, we're out in the middle of, we're not in Paris.
Yeah.
We're out in the cuts. It'd be like playing Humboldt or something.
Oh wow.
And this is a big show. I remember too that it was still, you could smoke in venues.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the French public, so there's a whole heap of cigarette smoke, tobacco smoke inside this low venue.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember once the horn line finishes and I'm gonna sing the first line, I remember breathing in. Oh my God. That was a night.
You discovered a new element to your voice that night.
Yeah, it was like broken. Cigarette smoke is like the worst to inhale for a singer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I remember that night. I remember we played some shows in Paris, and this is um, Bush Bush 2
Yeah.
time, and the people chanting for more after the encores, chanting
Whoa.
for more. At one point, the crowd in Paris was chanting USA, USA, because we were an American group.
Yeah, yeah.
When would you ever in 2005, 2000 and whatever hear people chant USA in France?
Seriously.
It was unreal. I
Wow.
remember in Brazil too, we go first show in Rio, was in a
Wow.
big hall, sold out, huge crowd. And we play the encore, we do all the stuff, and we leave and go into the thing, and the people are throwing things on stage,
Whoa.
throwing stuff, and the technicians are ducking and they're getting the mics away and unplugging, and we say, hey, we have to go play, and the promoter's like, it's impossible, blah blah, not possible, and he goes away for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and the people are. He comes back in. You have to play now.
Oh, dude.
It was so great.
Oh
And they
my
have to go
gosh.
back and plug in the stuff. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, oh my God, that's how big the crowd was. Is at a certain point, promoter couldn't stop it and said,
Whoa.
yo, not only it's not possible for you to play, but you have to play.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
incredible,
you
man.
could see that something was happening.
That must have been such a crazy feeling, especially like you said, kind of coming from the United States where, you're probably not going to find a show in the United States where people are that passionate about music to where they're going to like break shit till the band comes
Yeah, and
back,
there was two or 3,000 people in that show. It's not,
Yeah.
that's a big size venue in California.
Yeah.
It would be a hell of a crowd. We don't we hope one day to, but we don't have that here.
Whoa. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So things are catching fire like in South America through Europe. In
Yeah.
Groundation, you guys have been all over the place. Where are some other
Yes.
places you've been and seen where your message has reached?
Yeah, I mean, to the little small outlets of New Caledonia and Reunion, those are probably the most, we've toured New Zealand, Australia, and these places a few times. But New Caledonia is like a 5 hour flight from Australia,
Wow.
in the middle of the Pacific. Reunion is the small islands in the Indian Ocean closest to Madagascar.
Wow.
Like these are places, way, way out. I never thought we played. I remember in Morocco playing to like 10,000. No, man, it was more
Damn,
Arab, Muslim people that
man.
Groundation now is going to play roots reggae music with an American Jew singing.
Yeah.
What? Who would ever think that would happen? So
It's beautiful.
it was yeah, an amazing mark that the music is reaching places. And now I can say, no matter where we are on the planet, it might not be 1,000 people, but there'll be some Groundation fans there in the crowd waiting for this or that song to play. So it's something. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's such a beautiful thing. Like you just said, it shows the power of music to be able to unify, bring all these different cultures together and all for the same message. And I think that's what makes reggae music in particular so powerful is that message in the music. Um, I think, well, actually, I think talking about the message, there's something that you touched on earlier about the concept behind each of these albums. I'd actually love to hear more about the concepts behind these different Groundation albums. Just touched on Hebron Gate, I guess, moving forward to the next one. Be
Mhm.
Yeah, We Free Again is the next one after that.
Right.
Upon the Bridge. Like, what are some of the themes and messages in each of these albums that you hope that you were put into this
I
music?
mean, a lot of it is a call for action in respects to human rights and equality. Um, we see as we speak here now that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer and more people are getting poor. It's um, it's not a pretty picture that Groundation has painted in a lot of the songs that I write. Um, it's reality, and I feel like it's important to that's what reggae music really got me was okay, equal rights, justice, as I said when I was, 10 years old, talking about Rastafari and these things. Why is it coming from just these a few poor black people on this small island in the Caribbean? Why isn't the world talking about equality and the fight for justice, that's important, and because we have these great things like Bob Marley and these great you see what beauty and what wonderful things lie in poor people in investing in people's future and big and bringing up the mass of the world. So I want to be a part of this discussion, and maybe as a white youth from California, I have different people who will listen. I have different places that will open their doors. So yeah, this is a lot of what it is. From Young Tree, each one, Hebron Gate, We Free Again, Upon the Bridge. Those are meant to be a block of an idea of like a spiritual adventure, like a fantasy, if you
Yeah.
will. And then after Upon the Bridge, Here I Am begins to talk about the real reality of what we're living. So that's where Here I Am in Building an Ark and A Miracle and Next Generation and One Rock and Candle Burning. That's where those deal with. So they all kind of tell the story, and it's a human story. And I hope, like in the music, it's a story of redemption and and being grateful for these opportunities that we have with each other. Those are the messages there, Glenn. It's kind of like wishful thinking, but if somebody's not wishing it, it's not going to come.
Yes. I mean, word, sound, and power, you know what I mean? That same concept, putting those good messages into the world. And it sounds like they've been received by people all across the globe. And it's a beautiful thing that you do. And there's another thing that I was wondering as well. So when you write a song, you've been involved in multiple incredible projects like Groundation, Rockamovia, you have your project Professor, even your solo album, Harrison Stafford, One Dance. When you write a song, how do you know if it's a Groundation song or if it's a Rockamovia song or if it's a Harrison Stafford song? How can you tell which one it is?
Well, on the for a Groundation song, it has to be a reason why you record it. There's
Hmm.
got to be something about the song that is unique. So the Professor, the Harrison Stafford, um, those are like good songs. Not pushing conceptually or in its compositions. I write lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of songs. And some good songs never get recorded because it's not a Groundation song. It
Mm.
doesn't have an odd time. It doesn't have a solo part. It doesn't have this strange 2-minute intro.
Yeah.
And a lot of it reflects the fact that I have all this music that like Professor Madness is talking about Palestine and Israel. So it's
Yes.
not a Groundation album. It's like my own personal experience being in occupied territories as an American Jew and writing this music over there. And then this project also is what features the legendary Leroy Horsemouth Wallace.
Yes.
I can't bring a 7/4 song to Horsemouth. It's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, that's why you won't find any of those things on this solo albums I'm speaking about. You
Sure.
don't you don't find a 5/4 song on Professor or on Harrison Stafford or the Harrison Stafford's more songs, Hush My Wailing Child. It's about my family and my experiences. It was going to be another Professor, but they said that the Professor's too generic, so you have to go
Oh.
by your name. I said, oh, okay. But again, I don't really like the Harrison Stafford business.
Yeah.
I like hiding behind a group name. But yeah, that's how I know it's a Groundation. If I listen to it and I'd never heard it before.
Yeah. Oh man, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining that differentiation. Um, I'd like to touch on a little bit of your stuff with professors. It must have been incredible to work with that drum and bass section, Horsemouth and Flaba. I mean, two of the greats. Could you go into talking about working with those guys and some of the other members of that incredible ensemble?
Yeah, yeah, phenomenal. Yeah. Leroy Horsemouth Wallace. I was producing a Congo's album in Jamaica,
Whoa.
and that's when I first met Horsemouth and got
Wait,
his link
which
from
album
there.
was that?
It was Give Them the Rights.
Okay, nice.
Give Them the Rights. And which had a whole thing to it,
Nice. I'm
a
gonna have to
whole
check
a
that
whole
out.
fight for the rights to that.
Beautiful.
So that's where I met the link to Horsemouth, and it
Wow.
was during the Groundation tours that we're gonna do. So again, because a lot of the musicians are not coming from reggae in Groundation, I came with the idea of doing a tribute to Bob Marley in February. So we
Yes.
would put aside all the Groundation, and you would play just Bob Marley set, 25, 30 songs. And this was a way for all the musicians and instrumentalists to learn from the best, right? You're learning all the keyboard parts of Wire and you're learning Tyrone Downey's phrasing. You're learning what Family Man's doing. You're learning Carlton. This is the best. And there's always something new in that Wailers, for myself going to that. There's always something in there. So it was during a tribute to Bob Marley tour in February where Paul Spina, the drummer, said, "Hey, why don't you just get one of your Jamaican elder friends to go play the Bob Marley thing because he had a little daughter and it'll give him some time with the family and you don't really need him to do the Bob Marley."
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, let me call Horsemouth. And that's where the Rockamovia project first came from.
Wow.
And that was just from jams. We just jammed at sound checks and whatnot. And I said, oh, let's get some studio time and let's record some stuff. And most of it was just jamming. Most of
Yeah.
all that vocal stuff was improvised in studio.
Wow.
Just a meditation on the moment. And then I went. There was in regards to the Madness album. That was the next project that I did with Horsemouth, and that's with Flabba, the bass
Yes.
and all of that. And I knew Flabba from Is There Vibration. Is There Vibration was like Bob Marley's second coming to me as a
Yeah.
kid. And so this is Apple, Skelly, and Wiss, the three
Yes.
of them. And this is Bingy Bunny on rhythm guitar and style and all this
Oh
stuff. So
man,
I
yes.
would I would often see multiple shows in California. And so before the shows, after the shows, I met Flabba, met these people. So I have this link already. And what happens is a French Palestinian activist always said, Groundation, we've performed in Israel. That's also a place where Hebron Gate to perform in Israel. Hebron Gate is like wild because I speak about a lot of the places in Israel.
Yeah.
And so it has a heightened meaning when performed there. But this Palestinian activist says, you always perform in Israel. You perform in Israel, you know. Let me take you into Palestine, into the occupied territories, and we'll stay with families. We'll travel throughout Hebron. We'll travel throughout Ramallah, Nablus, Kalkilia, Bethlehem. We'll travel these areas. I said, okay, when the time is right. Finally, after a tour, I said, all right, I'll meet you and we'll meet at the Damascus Gate in Jerusalem and I'll follow you and spend 3 weeks with you. And I
Wow.
wrote this song. Uh, um, the great Gil Bonstein, the great Israeli promoter, he says, Rasa, you gonna bring some ganja? And I said, there's 600 and something checkpoints you have to go to.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna. And this is a Muslim, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, no, Ross, it's gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna trouble you. So I brought herb into Palestine.
Oh my
And
gosh, man.
every night I would roll and walk the streets. It come like Israel doesn't have that great of surveillance. I would walk these streets and write these songs.
Wow.
And it was in Ramallah one day who I met this poet, a great poet. I'm trying to think of his name, but I meet him in the only place in the West Bank that has alcohol.
Wow.
And so we meet there. And I say, yeah, I play reggae. He says, yeah, you play reggae. I noticed he didn't he had a negative accent, reaction to reggae.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, reggae music like Bob Marley. He said, yeah, I know reggae music. Let me ask you this. Why is reggae music so Zionist? Why is it always the children of Israel? Why is it always the... I said, whoa, I realized that from his perspective, it was not for the same as mine. He
Mm.
had a negative, and he said, reggae is a negative music to me.
Wow.
I was like, I said, no, man, no. It's only those quotes and those things you hear is because Rasta grew up on the Bible. That's why the language is that way. But Rasta is for equal rights and justice. No
Yes.
matter where you come from or who you are, they're the first to stand up and say, no, man, the person's not getting educated, not getting food, not getting this. They have the rights to do these things. They can't have freedom of movement. They do this. And I'm going to prove it to you by recording an album of all Jamaicans, Rasta in Jamaica, an album for Palestine. And that's how Madness came. So, anyways, that's how the Madness project even came to be. And we
Wow.
record at Harry J's studios, which was one of my favorite studios of
Yeah.
all time. And I would work all the albums at Harry J Studios. Stephen
Oh,
Stewart
wow.
was the engineer at Harry J's, Roosevelt Avenue, right there in Eastern Kingston. Um, and we recorded this project. Flabba's there, Horsemouth's there, and how did Obia get in the mix? Obia, Lloyd Denton is this
Mhm.
great keyboard player, Bunny Wailer, Burning Spear, Um, and I don't remember how I think it might have been the same Congos album I was doing that I met Horsemouth, that I met Obia. I think so, because that's where I met Dean Frazier and
Oh,
Chinna
yeah.
and all these
Oh, man.
great Sticky, Uzziah Thompson, all these great ones is where I met them. Sly, that's where I
Wow.
met all these people. And
Oh, man.
so Obia's there, we're there, and I want to, of course, I'm ridiculous and want to record on the 2-inch analog tape.
Yeah.
And nobody in Jamaica records on that. And if you're not upkeeping these machines, they don't work.
Yeah.
Even Seward says, no, Harrison, don't worry yourself. I'll get you a tape machine. So I got there at 10 a.m. for the session. There's no tape machine in the studio. I said, Stephen, where's the tape machine? He says, don't worry, professor. It's coming from across town. I said, you are going to drive a 2-inch tape machine to the studio, plug it in and think it's going to work? And he said, hope,
And we'll find out.
no, it's not going to work. So it finally gets over there and, you have to calibrate the entire machine.
Oh my
And of
gosh.
course, there's one engineer in Kingston now that
Oh,
knows how
man.
to do this. And we wait for him. 10 a.m. become noon, become 1, become 2, and they're calibrating the machine. And this is so the tape speeds are all aligned for the tracks.
Yeah.
And it gets into the evening time, 6 at night, and the night has fallen, and a car pulls in, and it's the great guitarist Dalton Brownie.
Whoa.
Wasn't going to be a part of the session. He just happened to pass by.
Oh,
And
wow.
Horse is like, yo, have Dalton jump in on guitar, you know? I said, yes, man. Dalton Brownie grew up and was the music director with Freddie McGregor
Mhm.
and recorded, obviously grew up with Dennis Brown. He's passed away now, but
Yeah.
he was a phenomenal person. What a wicked guitarist. And that's how he got on the session. And
Wow.
so the four of us went in there did that album quick on the tape machine. And I thought it would get some more support, but the album, I sent it off to some rabbis and some things, and nobody wanted to touch the record.
Really?
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about that situation. I thought it was going to spark conversation,
Yeah.
but instead it was sparked. I ain't calling you back. I'm not going to respond to that email.
Oh
That
my
is not
gosh.
going to go anywhere. But this is what began a magical relation with Horsemouth and Flabba, who are still strong, still healthy today, still doing the music. Flabba is touring with His Vibrations still, and
Yes.
Horsemouth just came back to Jamaica from Brazil for like a couple weeks of, I don't know, 50th anniversary of Rockers or something.
Oh,
And
that's incredible.
so yeah, he's like, I don't know, 80 years old, still playing the drum and these guys are magic, you know. You don't it doesn't get much better. And we recorded a tour with them.
Yep.
And so there's a live album, Throw Down Your Arms.
Yes.
And this is Flabba because I told the French booking agent, I said, if you're gonna have a tour with Flabba and Horsemouth, you better film it.
Yes.
And I'm so glad they did because man, it's wicked.
Yeah, man. You
Uh,
guys were on fire that performance, man.
Yeah, man, locked in, and I love the songs we did together, the whole Madness album, as well as the covers from Joe Higgs and
Yes.
Culture, and man, it's just some of the ones Flabba and Horsemouth played on the original.
Yeah. Oh
So it's
man.
like when you hear "Throw Down Your Arms," wow, that's
Dude.
that's that's the Burning Spear recording there because it's the guys,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, so that was very special, but. For me, this reggae jazz thing is what it's all about. I can write songs and write reggae songs all the time, but these little special things, these little, what I want, I figure music of a tapestry. Everybody puts their little mark, their little color, their little design, and I
Yes.
want mine to be original and, however, whatever big it is to, again, like I said, to inspire musicians.
Yeah.
Because it's like the idea that I want to record something unique and different is now bad. You want to sound like that. If you don't sound like that, it sound
Yeah. How are they gonna put you on a playlist?
yeah, it doesn't yeah, it's not right. So Glenn, we could talk about all these things in Jamaica and all these elders, and we haven't even talked about my history of reggae music course,
Yeah. Oh
and we
my
haven't
gosh.
talked about holding on to
Yes.
Jah, the documentary, and I'm saying all this to say that I really love the music. I'm grateful for the response to Groundation, and part of my love is just spreading the knowledge of Jamaican culture and history, because
Yes.
to me, it's such a phenomenal, it's like magic. It's like, it takes certain ingredients for something to happen, like lightning to strike. And Jamaica at that time, we're talking about the 60s, 70s, is like a million lightning bolts all striking at once, you know?
Yes.
If you didn't have this happen, it would never happen. If you
Yep.
didn't have that happen, it would never have happened. And everything that took place from Bob Marley to reggae to sound recording to Selassie, all of this magical stuff is what created this, as the tagline of Holding On to Jah, the genesis of a revolution,
Yes.
the beginning of something magical, and I love also the story that it came from the Jamaican government wanting to squash this Rastafari cult. So we're going to pay to have Selassie come to Jamaica and say, no, 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 I'm not God. Don't do Rasta. Don't do these things. And he didn't say that. And he came and said what he said. And instead of it squashing it, it blew the roof off of the thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what the film is focusing on, this 1966 visit of Selassie
Yes.
that it was meant to destroy it, but instead it created this phenomenal thing. And you know, and if Bob Marley had come 10 years before, 20 years before, you wouldn't have had the ability to record him.
Yes.
So the fact that
Wow.
there was that creativity in sound recording is what made it all happen. This little moment of being a recording musician is a very small moment
Yes.
in history. It's just a few decades. A
Yeah.
person wasn't a recording musician in 1900. And will there be a recording musician in 20 years from now? I don't
Yeah.
know. We hope so. But this is what makes this moment and reggae and all that stuff so much more meaningful, so much more, heartical, as they would say.
Man, there's so much in there, man.
There
Like
is
that,
a lot, yeah.
I hadn't even considered the technological aspect of things too, contributing to that perfect storm that was
Yes,
brewing,
man.
man. Like
Yes, man.
that's such an important element of it as well.
And
Uh,
as I mentioned, the history of reggae music, I was able to teach online during the
yep, COVID.
pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, during COVID. And now I would talk about the advantages in studio recording, because everybody first hears about Studio One, they hear about Treasure Isle, Duke Reed, they hear
Mm-hmm.
about these studios going. And this is 4-track
Yes.
recording. And all of a sudden, Channel One, Joe Gibbs, Harry J's, you don't even hear about Studio One anymore. What happened? 16-track recorder.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And I was able to go now, instead of like I used to go when I first taught the course, to libraries. You can
Yeah.
go on to Google now, and you can find these studios with the 16-track tape machines.
Yeah.
And these technological advances is why that sound jumped above that, and eras of the music move on. And it was a magical time. And we're kind of living on the reflection, on the wave of that. And it's where we take it that's
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you brought up Holding On to Jah. I rewatched that film preparing for this interview, and I watched it when it first came out. I think it was actually one of the first reggae and Rastafari documentaries I ever watched. And it's such an incredible film and such a passion project that,
Yeah.
and I know it took you like well over a decade to
Yes.
finally get it all together. I'd love to hear more about the creation of that film, and yeah, just I'd love to hear about the Holding On to Jah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it came from the original drummer of Groundation, Jason Bodlovich, when I was first getting the group, showing him the albums, showing him the music, and talking about where it's coming from and everything. He was like, "Man, you know so much about this. You should teach." you know? I
Yeah.
said, no, that can't be. But over the years, I collected all the stuff. I started to put the syllabus, started to put a daily lesson plan.
Oh yeah.
And I knew the head of the music department, of course, since
At
the
Sonoma,
jazz,
yeah.
yeah, at Sonoma State, and had
Yes.
meetings with him about why the course was something beneficial to the music department and why I should be the one to teach it. And yeah, we had a book for the first couple of semesters. This is why I'm known
Wow.
as professor.
Did you write the book?
No, no, no.
Oh,
I
okay.
was first using the Chan Brothers Reggae Routes,
Oh, wow.
which is a good book, and it has good selections. But I would have at that in those days, I'd have 2 cassette tapes of all of these songs from early Mento and from, like the Folk Brothers, Old Carolina with Count Ozzy and these things,
Yeah.
all the way from that time through to the dance hall modern. And this would be the listening tapes of the
Yeah.
class. We had tests, we had guest speakers, culture, Isra Vibration. I'd pick them
Oh,
up
man.
at the hotel, bring them to the class. They talk about their lives and their experiences. I had Abba Melchizedek speak, Selassie's private secretary for the last 20 years of Selassie's time.
Oh, man.
So this is where the name professor, this is
Yes.
where elder Jamaicans began to call me professor.
Yes.
Oh, professor that, professor. So now to a lot of the musicians of that era, professor. And plus in Jamaica, Harrison Stafford is kind of a strange name. I think for most places, but in Jamaica, they don't really know what to do with that because Harrison's your last name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Stafford, which they don't know what it is. So
Yeah, yeah. Professors.
Professor is much
Right to
more
the point.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they that's where the name comes, and it's from that course then, because I would have another childhood friend, Roger Hall, who recorded and did all the Groundation music videos from the
Yeah.
first one, What Could Have Been, through Humility and all. So he is my video. He graduated from San Francisco Academy of Art in video. So he does all the video stuff. So I would have him record these guest lectures. Culture would come and, just for prosperity.
Yeah.
And then it was in 1999 that I first flew him to Jamaica
Wow.
with a camera and everything. And we were just sitting with elders talking about it. It wasn't until I would do this a couple times, even with a crew, Dan Esser and other people from California, fly them to Jamaica. And I would be driving, organizing the interviews, doing the interviews, driving through Kingston, going next interview, doing the stuff,
Yeah.
and getting, you could spend the whole day. You can go to Ken Booth's house, and you can go to Horace Andy's house, and you can go
Oh
to,
man.
Bernard Collins's house and Max Romeo's house, and you can go to, boom, 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 all these places. And then after Joseph Hill passed away, Culture,
Yes.
he was the one that we spent a lot of time with. He was such a giving person. I knew his son, Kenyatta, who now sings for Culture,
Yes.
around my same age. So I knew him from when we were kids.
Wow.
And so Joseph was such a great, welcoming person. And we sat with him. I said, Roger, we have to do something with all this footage because this man is incredible. All these people are like superstars. And so then we started to put together the framework, right? Questions about the island's history,
Yes.
questions about Marcus Garvey, where that's coming from, questions about Selassie, where that's going, questions about the Revelation and Rasta, where that happened, questions about the music, and this is where we started to get the film's actual, synopsis, actual plan,
Yeah.
together. And sitting with Don Carlos and Ijaman and Countryman. We found Countryman.
Oh yeah.
This is the star of the movie Countryman. And this is a man who Chris Blackwell, the head of Island Records, sees at Hellshire. And he's like a phenomenon. He's like, who is this man? Barefoot. He had feet looked like flippers, like swimming flippers. Flat and big feet. And he could run on the rocks or run up the mountains and do all these. So Chris Blackwell says, I don't know who you are, but I'm going to make a movie. I don't know what it is, but you're the star. And so, Countryman was like, and then somebody said, yeah, man, I know where Countryman is. So,
Whoa.
he said, yeah, he's still out there in Hellshire. We're at the point.
Yeah, yeah.
What? So we drive out to Hellshire. It's getting to be nightfall. We go out there and there's a house. Steel siding, corrugated
Yeah.
steel siding in the sand.
Whoa.
Shoosh, shoosh, drawing a line from far away for electricity, right?
Wow.
So bing, 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 we knock on this thing. I said, what is this, Da, da, da. Nobody's coming to the door. Knock and wait. And then all of a sudden, slides away the front door there. It's Countryman, sand floor, sand, just a little pool chain light.
Whoa.
He and his wife living out there. So, wow, this is amazing. So Countryman's in the film and told us all these stories about there was a van that washed up onto Hellshire and he and his wife lived underneath the van, inside the van for like 10 years they lived there. So it's like finding all these incredible people and sitting with them in the history and Roger, my friend, did such a great job editing and putting it all together.
Yeah.
And man, very, very proud. Roger Steffens, one of the first people we showed it to, was like, man, if there's a movie that I would show people who are interested but not knowing about, it's really a movie about Rastafari.
Yes.
So, music is the last section of the film. And if people were, what is this Rasta thing? That's the movie that I would show them.
Yes.
And, that says a lot. And I'm very, like you said, it's a labor of love. It's not something that is making money, but it's something that will last, because a lot of these people in the film are not here anymore.
Yeah.
So it's them. And that's something that I've always, when I started Young Tree Records, we also released Pablo Moses albums, Congo's albums, Winston Jarrett. When I
Yeah,
started out
Winston.
records, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The tagline, preserving the history and integrity of reggae music.
Yes.
And that's what I still take pride in, because it's phenomenal. And with music, we all borrow from others. So just to be in, there's a danger of losing the past.
Yeah.
So it's important to cement, hey, these were the guys that did it, because whether it's Capleton, Sizzla, Taurus Riley, Kabaka, Chronix, Protege, these people who did this, they were not accepted. They
Yeah.
were thrown out into the bush. Nobody wanted to hear from them. When they got their first tours, people laughed in their faces. People left the little halls. People didn't know what their hairstyle was and what this was. It was shocking. And out of their sheer discipline and work ethic and perseverance, the music caught on. And now it's celebrated, and you could have dreadlocks in government, and it's a wonderful thing. But it's because of them and what they went through that everybody is not benefiting from, but being supported by.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something that I absolutely love about that film. And another thing that I think makes that film so great is it's told by the people who were there, all these incredible artists narrating the whole time. And you set it up in such a great framework, like starting with the history of Jamaica, the prophet with Marcus Garvey, the coming of Selassie, then the music. It's all very cohesive and easy to follow. And like I said, that was my first documentary about Rastafari when I wanted to learn more about the movement, and that's something that I always recommend people watch too. So it's been I'm really grateful that you put in the time to document all of
Thank
that
you.
history
Thank you
for
for
all
saying
those
that, Glenn.
incredible people. I mean, and you said this earlier too, that with the tapestry and you all you wanted to do was inspire people. I mean, I think you're a lot of musicians' favorite musician, you know what I mean? When it comes to
Oh,
people,
sweet.
yeah, like me, I grew up in California loving reggae music, and you were certainly one of the people that lit that fire within me and stoked those flames. So,
Love it.
yeah,
Love it. Right. Each one teach one, Glenn.
absolutely, man. And
Yeah,
it's
that's the beauty of it all. Yeah. Yeah, man,
yeah.
it's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. And that kind of structure was how I taught the class.
Yes.
I would start the first day, we'd have all the lights off and the candle burning on everybody's desk, and we would have Pass It On, Bunny Wailer,
Yes.
rumbling the hall as people came in and got their seats. That this is a deeper thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say when people ask about the history of reggae music. I say, well, it's like jazz and rock, hip hop, where it's the development of a popular music. But when Rasta enters the music, it becomes a second history. And it's a history of Rastafari. It's biblical. There's a whole thing there. And I would even have a little chart that I would pass out in the class to say, here's Jamaican popular music. And in 1930, you have all the comings of Marcus Garvey and Selassie, all the works, and they join in the late 60s. And that's where you have to now backtrack and speak about what Selassie is and what it means to Black people in Jamaica.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Man, there's a couple more questions that I want to ask you. First of all, Bernard Collins of the Abyssinians and Pablo Moses are two of my favorites. I mean, A Song and Sata Masagana are probably like my top two, like tied for first place reggae albums, and
Awesome.
they're both heavily featured in the film Holding On to Jah. I'd just like to ask you, like, what is it like interacting with them, and do you have any good stories about those guys?
Yeah, man. I got plenty. I got enough story, as they
Yeah.
say. Yeah, I mean, awesome. Pablo Moses is a person who I did meet also on US tours when I was a kid. Um, and always very up on the news, knowing current events and what's happening. Even to this day, he'll send me little Instagram links to this person
Yeah.
speaking about this and that. And Pablo knows a lot about history, and
Yeah.
he's very smart. He was in the area of Kingston, because he was as black as he was. They wouldn't allow people to buy the property there, and it was
Wow.
he who wrote this thing and got approved and went through university and did all this stuff. The music he
Wow.
learned. He's very well educated, and yeah, I think his role in holding on to Ja was it. And like you said, it's narrated by them. So it's, I think, narrator or me, or, it's their story. Somebody also said I could have saved like $30,000 if we just used Groundation's music. But it's
Yeah.
not Groundation's story, it's their
Yeah.
story. And you mentioned the Abyssinians. You can't tell the history of Rastafari and not play Sada Masagana.
Yes.
So this is foundation stuff. And the last time I was in Jamaica a few months ago, I visited Pablo and Bernard Collins. Um, Both of them, health wise, are struggling.
Oh man.
But they're up in years, about the same age, 78. Um, and they have unreleased music too. They have stuff they've recorded.
Yeah.
Pablo has an album way back that I baked the tapes and transferred onto digital, an album from way back when. And Sata Bernard has a bunch of recordings that he was working on before he had gotten sick 10 years, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Um, so it's great to see these guys. And such unique singers too. Pablo has such an incredible voice. It's so fragile almost sounding,
Yeah.
especially for the big man that he is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't represent him at all.
Yeah.
Uh, but these are deeply committed and spiritual people. Um, they kind of live in two opposite parts of Kingston. And Bernard, what can I say about Bernard Collins? He would give his all. I remember seeing the Abyssinians in Santa Rosa, and there must have been 40 people,
Whoa.
and yet they're bowing on their knees on the stage and doing all this. Like, these guys are incredible, and nobody's here to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, so they've been in the struggle and in the fight for a very, very long time. Even years ago, I was sitting on the veranda with Bernard Collins, and there was a young preacher that would come by, and he knows that he is not in good health. And so the preacher would offer some words and read from the passages of the Bible. And I was there on the veranda one evening, and he came by and said, "Oh, is the elder here?" I said, "Yeah." And he notices a bunch of 45s. "Oh, you do music?" And I was like, I realized this guy has no idea who Bernard Collins is. And I said, "Yeah, he does music." He said, "Oh, yeah. Does he produce or?" I said, "No, he's a singer." He said, "Yeah, does he sing?" "There is a land far,
Yeah.
far." He nearly jumped out of his skin. You, I was like, this is the man who sang it originally, wrote it, took his money to record it. Cox and Dog at Studio One did not want to record it because he
Yeah.
wasn't a huge fan of Rasta. And it's uh it's a remarkable thing that happened. And if you were, I always thought it'd be fun to have a printout of Western Kingston and just to peg where everybody grew up.
Oh man.
Your mind would be blown if you saw where everybody lived. We're
Yeah.
talking about a few blocks square where
Whoa.
everybody was there singing, Herb, doing these things. And Clinton Farron, I sat with Clinton Farron of the Gladiators. And I said, talking about this, and he said, "Harrison, we didn't have any other options. We either were going to be going the bad way and become gangsters or music. So
Yeah.
we had to give it everything.
Yeah.
If I was from America, maybe I'd have 100 fallbacks. Well, I could do this. I could be a lawyer. I could be, well, if that doesn't work out, I'll work at the local store or whatever."
Sure.
No, man, it was this or that. So those who hooked up to music with Joe Higgs and mentorships and things
Yeah.
in those areas, they hooked up to it wholeheartedly and sang their hearts out and changed the world. Yeah, so Bernard was right in the thick of all that stuff. Toots and the Maytals, Ken Booth, Delroy Wilson, they were all right there.
Oh man. If you
Yeah.
ever make that, I would love to see that one day, just to have
Yeah,
an
the
idea
man.
of what it's like. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Jamaica and I got to see Pablo and Bernard perform at Rebel Salute in
Oh,
St. Anne's,
awesome.
but I haven't had a chance to go to Kingston yet. So I would love to just see on a map what it was like during that time and what
Did
the
you
atmosphere was.
perform at Rebel
No,
Salute?
I just visit. I just turned 21 and I was like, I need to go to Jamaica and witness this event. And it was an incredible experience for sure. And I didn't realize it was like an all-night affair. Like I got
Yeah,
there
man.
like 9 or 10 p.m. and didn't leave till like 2 p.m. the next day,
Yeah, man.
all night long. And it was
Yeah, man.
raining, man, running around in the mud.
Let me tell you a funny story about that. I have a Rebel Salute story, but
Oh yeah.
this is when it was in the bush. It was out in Westmoreland,
Oh wow.
in the original spot. And Joseph Hill says, "Oh, come and see me perform. I'm gonna play Rebel Salute." And I said, "Great." And so I go out there. I reach at 7 p.m.
Yeah. You
7
probably
p.m.,
hadn't even
8
started
p.m.,
yet.
10 p.m. No, that was going on.
Oh, okay.
10 p.m., midnight, 2 a.m. It's unbelievable. I'm like, what's Joseph? This is crazy. Joseph shows up at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I said, you should have said you were going to perform in the morning of Sunday. You shouldn't have said you were. What do you mean Saturday night you're going to be playing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. At one point, it was one of Buju's first shows and I was sleeping in
Oh,
the car
whoa.
and I woke up to Buju and wow, what is this? Let me go check this
Oh
out.
man.
But,
Was it
but yeah,
oh what's the I'm drawing a blank on the bass player's name. He's dancehall musician. Derek Barnett. Was he playing with Buju at that time?
he might have been. I didn't get to
Okay.
see the stage that well.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was for Joseph. I was able to get on the
Yeah.
stage
Oh man,
and
that's
see
an
those
incredible
things.
experience.
But that was the same. Like, okay, Jamaica, I see how it goes now, all night, Because before I was just in St. Anne's Bay, Baptist church. This is not my first Jamaica wasn't music.
Yeah.
I wasn't a musician from a band or anything. I was just a kid in St. Anne's Bay and Lime Hall and these places, and that was the experience. So it wasn't until later with that okay, Rebel Salute, and I'm gonna go to this and those things. It was an experience, but you have to go. You have to go check it out. Check out
Absolutely.
Kingston.
Yes, yeah, one of these days, man. I'm definitely want to get down there. There's two more questions I got
Yeah.
for you. Um, what would be your top five reggae albums if you had to pick?
Wow. Really
Yeah.
put me on the spot. Well, I've been doing a little thing on the Groundation where I talk about must-have reggae albums.
Yeah.
And the original Groundation website had like 50 or 60 must-have
Oh,
albums
beautiful.
on the list. And this is just my own personal albums. I mean, as a kid, my number one was Survival, Bob Marley's. I think also I was not a big fan of Legend
Yeah.
because everybody bought that album,
Yep.
and I was kind of teased and made fun of when I was a kid for listening to reggae and having this music. And then later, Legend was the biggest thing on earth.
Yeah.
So the fact that Survival had no songs chosen from that album on Legend was kind of a added plus.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even put that
Um,
together. That's
and
interesting.
Survival is a wicked horn album. I
Yes.
mean, that's the first album that Dean Fraser plays on,
Yeah. I think it's
and they
David Madden on trumpet
David
too, right?
Madden, right, and
Yes.
Nico. I mean, Nambo.
Nambo. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Trombone.
and they have wicked horns and the sound. It's also the first album that they recorded at Bob Marley's Tough Gong, the
Wow.
studio that he built at his house. And I feel like they went wild with the recording. They just all the male harmonies and the female harmonies, and sometimes there's two horn sections,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
like
Like a
Wake Up
wake
and
up
Live.
and
Yeah,
live.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have those
You
layers
have
in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, man, what? So
Yeah.
that's number one for me is Survival. I used to blow out my father's speakers with Babylon System
Oh, yeah.
with that track. And I love that album. So Survival, I'm only gonna choose one Bob because you could choose all five Bob. Bob
Sure.
Marley was like a different, I feel like the care and production of Bob Marley was light years away from even Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, it just wasn't the same. I mean, Burning Spears, Marcus Garvey, they all don't even go to the last bridge. There's like a mistake in the recording, but because of time, because of whatever, they just said, hey, the vibe is cool. Let's just keep it. But Bob would have never had an album like
No.
that.
Yeah.
It's like everything clean, rehearsed, recorded. A lot of Bob Marley album would take a month to record,
Yeah.
and the Burning Spear album take 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's like those albums are incredible. The Island Record albums, the ones that he did for Island Records. What else? Bunny Wailer's Blackheart Man.
Yes.
That's just incredible. I'd have to put Steel Pulse, Handsworth Revolution
Yeah, man.
is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, Pablo Moses a song. You mentioned that record.
I love that record, man.
That's incredible. I mean, and then maybe Heart of the Congos as number
Yeah.
5. But there's so many. I don't know what was in the water or what was happening, but the amount of, as a singer, the amount of unique sounds and I mean, all of those records I just heard mentioned, it would be the singers are so different.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of them. So I don't know, something was happening in Jamaica during that time.
Yeah. And even like the vibe of each one of those records, you've got Survival, this clean, pristine sounding record. Then you've got Heart of the Congos, like gritty Lee Perry
Rough, yeah,
production. Yeah. Like,
opposite.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, those are the tracks yet recorded, about the same time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, man, that was a powerful, powerful time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And my final question I want to ask you is what would be your biggest piece of advice to people who want to carry the torch of reggae music?
Wow, biggest advice. Um, I think that my advice would be don't give up because it's reggae music is like, what is it, 1% or less of the music world?
Mm.
So you're really fighting. This is why I love reggae too, is that most people come to reggae with that heart because it's not really a recipe for superstardom, millions of dollars, all of these things. So I would say just come to reggae for the right reasons. And I believe reggae, whatever it is that draws people to it, in the smells and flavors of it, it brings about that person who is conscious, that person who is wanting to connect with nature, wanting to be a part of equal rights and justice and these things. I would say don't lose that. Don't lose what it's about, which is that, standing up for the right things and standing up for poor people. There's so much there, Glenn, that
Yeah.
the music is not, especially today, the music is not easy, to learn an instrument today, to take that time. People don't take that time anymore. So, I mean, imagine how long it took you to play the trumpet and, get your tone and
Yeah.
work on all of these things is like pretty soon they're going to have a Glenn Holdaway app and they'll be able to just
Yeah.
have your horn just sound like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Beautiful advice. And wishing you safe travels on the roads. For the Groundation fans, I know you're going to be heading to Europe, I believe, pretty soon.
Yeah,
Where can people
yeah,
see
yeah.
you?
Yeah, we're going to be heading to Europe here June 1st. We begin the rehearsals and shows in Bordeaux. We'll be in France. We'll be in Portugal, Netherlands, Switzerland. We have a few stops. Let's see, London and Greece, Athens. So we're making our way. Groundation.com is the best way to find out what show it is, and we always change the sets up each night, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a different style that we do.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Are there any other projects coming up that people should be on the lookout for? And I know you mentioned groundation.com. Where else can people follow you and keep up to date with you?
Well, pretty soon I'm going to be revamping actually the harrisonstafford.com, my
Oh,
webpage.
nice.
And we're going to be actually holding on to Ja. We are just about finished getting everything lined up to release onto YouTube.
Oh,
So it'll
yes.
finally be available for
Oh,
people because
beautiful.
the way it's been kind of dead because nobody has DVD players. So
Mm.
we sell 5 or 10 DVDs a year.
Oh, man.
And then the other way is through the streaming. But all the streaming services, because Holding Out the Jaw was started so many years ago, it's not into the HD that they require for their,
Oh,
like
man.
Netflix and these things.
Yeah.
That they say that they don't accept our format because it's too old.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's going to live on YouTube, which is great. Roger and I have been working on that. We did a crowdfunding years ago to secure all the rights to the songs.
Yeah.
So we have, and this is, getting the rights to Bob Marley's War, to Peter Tosh's Equal Rights, to Marcus Garvey, Burning Spear. It was not an easy task, but we have all the contracts signed and dated, and we have them all uploaded. So look very soon to be able to experience the full Holding Out the Jaw documentary free on YouTube.
Incredible. I know people are gonna love that, and it's I know this documentary I believe came out in 2011, so it'll be interesting. It's almost like the second coming of the documentary and the
It
ripple that it's
is.
going to create. I can't wait to
It
to
is. And
see
like
how
you
it is
said,
made.
we'd already talked about it, but just for people to experience it and to see these great people, and I think it does justice to their story.
Absolutely. Well, Harrison, thank you so much for your time. It's been an
Yeah,
absolute
Glenn.
pleasure getting to chat with you, and yeah, man. Thank you again.
Pretty soon we have to explore your story. How did you get on the trumpet? Where about your musical background, huh?
Hey,
Yeah.
you have me on the Professor podcast. We can we can get into all
Yes, yes,
that.
yes. Maybe I will. Didn't you play just recently with Steven and Ziggy?
I played with the Marley Brothers. Yes, we went on tour and I got to
What?
play with Ziggy as well, and that was an incredible experience. And getting to every single one of the Marley Brothers brings their own thing to it, and it was really interesting to get to see that and how they all interact
Oh,
together
did
as
you
a
play with
family.
all the Marley Brothers?
Yeah, yeah, we did the Marley Brothers
What?
tour, and then I
I
did
haven't
Ziggy.
met, I think I met Julian and Steven.
Oh yeah,
I never met Ziggy and Ziggy was the guy when I was a kid. Ziggy
yeah,
Marley and the
man.
Melody Makers were like, man, superstar. One Bright Day and all those Conscious Party, all those albums.
I think you would love Ziggy because Ziggy, when I worked with him with the Marley Brothers and also him on his own project, and
Okay.
every time I played with Ziggy, he would always do it different. He never wanted to play the song the same way twice. And even if we had a vamp, like he wouldn't ever just do it 4 times. He's like, nah, I'll do it 5 times or 9 times or 7 times. He just likes to be spontaneous. And whatever he's feeling in that moment, he's going to go with that. So I think you guys kind of have that same spirit, that creative spirit inside you. I think that's why
Mm,
Ziggy, his performances are so electrifying because he's always in the moment and
yeah.
making a new thing each time.
Yeah, that's where you got to be.
Yeah,
That's
man.
wicked, Glenn. Yeah. Well, right on. I'll have you on my podcast soon.
Oh man, I'd be honored, man. Well, we were planning to wrap up the interview right there, but right after I finished recording, we actually stayed on the call for a little bit, and we started talking more about that experience that he had in Palestine, and that reminded him of a couple stories. So here they are, a couple bonus stories from Harrison Stafford. Hope you enjoy. All right, we're back.
Nice. And we're back for part two.
Yeah.
This is just a couple stories about my experience in the occupied territories in developing and working on that Madness album. So before I said the Palestinian activist was saying, I want to take you, he lives in France. I want to take you to the occupied territories. I said, when the time is right. And I finally said, yes, we're going to do it. After I finished that tour and I said, I'm going to meet you in Damascus Gate, he was there and his wife was there at the post-tour, post-show celebration. And she's there and she meets me. Oh, Harrison, everybody is so happy to meet you in Palestine. She said, I only told them just a little bit about you, that you were a world famous American Jew. I was like, people kidnap
Yeah.
journalists and Jews and things from the occupied territories and hold them for ransom.
Yeah.
I said, you just told the people what? I am not a famous person, and I don't know if an American Jew, it was put me on edge.
Yeah.
And then I spend the 3 weeks going around the towns. The last town I'm in is called Qalqilia. And if you look on the map of Qalqilia, the wall that separates Israel and Palestine comes out and grabs it. It used to be kind of a seaport town that could go from Haifa into the Mediterranean. But because of the wall now, it's locked in. And so it's poorer than poor. One street in, one street out.
Yeah.
And I am staying without my guide now, without this Arnaud from France, without him. It's just me alone. And I'm staying with the Communist Party of the Palestinian organization. So I'm staying with the Communist Party, and they're arranging for me because only certain cars can drive through checkpoints to Israel, give me back to Gil Bonstein, my friend in Israel, and drive me back to where he lives.
Yeah.
So they say in their broken English, my Arabic is not good. Their Hebrew is not good. We can barely speak. And he says, yes, of course, Mohammed is his name. He's going to come and drive you. The whole day I'm waiting for Mohammed to come. It's nightfall. Mohammed comes. I said, my friends have been waiting for me now for a long, oh, yes, yes. I go there, Mohammed. I say, oh, Mohammed, I'm supposed to meet my friend. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. So I go in with this man. And you go out of Qalqilia because there's this wall now. You can only go right to go to Israel, or you go left to go deeper into West Bank. And I said, oh yeah, you can see the lights at the checkpoint. It's not far. And he goes left. I said, what, Mohammed? What's going on? You know? Oh yeah. You know, driving. Man, I have people waiting. You know, yes. And then he makes a right-hand turn up a mountain ravine. And he's driving through this community now that's not meant for a car. So each little turn he makes, he has to do a bunch of back and forth to get up this mountain until he goes. It's rubble. There's communities and houses, but it's not a city by any means. He goes to this rubble and stops the car and says, get out. And I'm sitting there and I was like, okay. It's great. So I get out of the car and go with him, and he leads me around this enclosed area. And when I go around there, there's a family celebrating the Hajj, and they're playing music and giving me dates and some tea. He wanted to give me one last cultural experience before, and then we got back in the car, and he brought me back to my friends. But man, it was, it could have been with the whole premise of what his wife said to me. It was like, So I realize now that doing what I did was risking a lot. Yeah. And if I did it again, it would be knowingly foolish.
Yeah. Man, what a crazy story.
I wanted you to get that stuff.
Yeah, man. All right. So now that concludes today's episode. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That really helps us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Top Ranking Podcast. Like us on Facebook. Make sure to tune in next time for more interviews and stories from your favorite bands and artists. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, my name is Glenn Holdaway. See you next time.